Hello everyone, I'm welcoming all of you to our chemistry class. What is chemistry? Chemistry deals with the study of matter. Regarding what? Regarding its composition, its structure, properties, and uses. Suppose I'm thinking about water, then chemistry deals with the study of water regarding what? Regarding its composition, means it is made up of hydrogen and oxygen. Then its structure, means how hydrogen and oxygen atoms are arranged within the molecule water. And what is the use of water? Before that, we have to know what are the properties of water. So it means chemistry deals with the study of matter regarding its composition, properties, uses. So first we have to know that what is matter. So today we will study about the matter. What is matter? Anything which occupies space, has mass, and can be perceived by our senses known as matter. I think all of you know that anything which occupies space, has mass, and can be perceived by our senses known as matter. So here what we have to know, that matter means which occupies space, and occupies space, that is what? That is the volume, and it has mass, means that is related to the weight, and it can be perceived by our senses, means it can be perceived by vision, smell, hear, taste, or touch. Suppose for example, I'm considering a soap. Okay, a soap. All of you take bath. Okay, so this soap, what will happen? If I want to keep it somewhere, it requires some space. Oh, and then what happens? It has some mass, and it can be, I can see it, that yeah, it is the soap. Along with that, I can smell it also, and if I will stuck it to the board, then, or to the gate or a window, then I can hear a sound. Next, I know this is a chemical, so I can't test it, but still if I will test it, it is better to test. And I can touch and I can know that it is a soap. So anything which occupies space, has mass, and can be perceived by our senses known as the matter. Now what are the characteristics of matter? Characteristic of matter: volume, mass, weight, and perceived by senses. These are the characteristic of the matter. What is volume? Volume, that is the space occupied by the matter. And mass is what? Quantity of the matter contained. Suppose I am thinking about the, or saying about the soap, then what happens? Or a lemon, then what happens? That occupies some space, and that is what? That is its volume. Means all the matter has volume. Or if I am saying about whether this soap or about this lemon, then we know that if it has some matter, so that matter, the quantity of matter present in it, that is what? The quantity of matter present in it, that is what? That is its mass. More the matter, more will be the mass. Less the matter, less will be the mass. Next, if I will, again suppose I kept it on the wall, and when it will fall down, then what will happen? It will be moved towards the earth. Why? Because earth is pulling it towards its side, and this gravitational pull on this soap or on this lemon, whatever the matter is there, that is known as the weight, and it can be perceived by our senses, either by vision, or by smell, or by hearing, or by taste or touch. We can identify the matter. Even I think about, if I say air, air is also a matter. Why? Because air occupies space, and it has mass, can be perceived by senses. So air is matter. Next, we will discuss about the composition of matter. Composition of matter: we know that matter composed of particles. All the matter, whatever be the matter, whether it is an iron rod, or we are thinking about oxygen gas, or we are thinking about water liquid, or sodium chloride common salt, but all are made up of particles. Now these particles are of three types. They may be atoms, or they may be molecules, or they may be ions. So matter is composed of particles that can be atom, that can be molecule, or that can be ion. Now what is atom? Atom is the smallest particle of an element that can take part in a chemical reaction. Suppose I'm thinking about a iron rod. If I will divide, redivide, then what will happen? The ultimate thing I will get it, ultimate particle I will get it, that is the atom of iron. In the same way, if I will think about the oxygen, then the ultimate unit, the smallest unit of oxygen is O atom. Atom. And they can be represented by like this. Oxygen is represented by O. One atom of hydrogen is represented by H. One, when I'm thinking about one atom of chlorine, then it is represented by this Cl. So if I say Fe, it means it represents one atom of iron. Now next, what is the molecule? Molecule is the smallest particle of a substance capable of independent existence. The difference is here that atom may or may not have independent existence, but molecule always have independent existence, means it will retain the characteristic of the substance. Atom may or may not have independent existence, means suppose I'm thinking about, or I'm saying you about the iron rod, then each atom of iron has independent existence, means the each atom of iron will retain the characteristic of all the characteristic of the iron rod. If I am thinking about oxygen, then oxygen, what will happen? Oxygen atom has not independent existence. Why? Because this oxygen atom, one atom of oxygen O, do not retain the property of the oxygen gas. But if I will say about the molecule oxygen, means O2, then what will happen? Whether it is oxygen molecule, hydrogen molecule, chlorine molecule, or water molecule, whatever be the molecule, they retain the property of, or they retain the characteristic of the substance. Whatever the characteristic I will get within one molecule, the same characteristic I will get in the bulk. Suppose I'm thinking about the water, then one molecule of water exhibit all the properties, whatever the property is exhibited by a bucket of water. So what happens? Atom is the smallest particle of an element that take part in a chemical reaction, but it may or may not have independent existence. But molecule is smallest particle of a substance capable of independent existence, that retain, it means that retain the characteristic of the substance. Now next, what is ion? Ion are formed by the atom. When atom, there is a loss of electron or a gain of electron by the atom, then atom or a group of atom converted into a charged particle, and that charged particle is known as ion. For example, oxygen, when it will give, when it will accept 2 electron, at that time it is converted into O2 minus ion. And chlorine in the same way, when it will accept 1 electron, then what will happen? It will be converted into Cl minus ion. Now suppose sodium, then sodium, what will happen? When it will give 1 electron, then it will be converted into the ion. So ion is what? Which is formed by the loss or gain of electron. Whenever an atom will give the electron or lose the electron, then the charge developed on the atom will be positive. And when it will accept the electron, the charge developed on it will be negative. Charge developed on it is negative. So matter composed of particles. The particles may be atom, may be molecule, or may be ions. So now I will discuss about the main postulates of kinetic theory of matter. Kinetic theory of matter. So first point already I have discussed, that matter is composed of very tiny particles. They may be atom, they may be molecule, or they may be ions. Next is that according to the kinetic theory, in between this particle there is space, and that space is known as intermolecular space. The space between the particles known as intermolecular space. Next is that in between the particle there is a force, and that force is known as intermolecular force. In this universe, whatever the particles are there, in between those particles there is a force, and here in case of the substance, in between the particle, whatever the force is there, that is known as intermolecular force. One thing you keep it in your mind, that if the space increases, then the intermolecular force decreases. For example, suppose I will keep a iron piece near the magnet. If the distance between the magnet and the iron is more, then what will happen? The force will be less. But if I will bring it nearby the magnet, then you know that the force increases. The attractive force increases. Whatever the type of force, that increases. It means more the space, less will be the force, and less the space, more will be the force. It means they are inversely proportional to each other. Now next is that we know that matter composed of particles, but these particles are in random motion, always in motion, and due to that motion what happens, they possess energy, and that energy is what, due to motion, whatever the energy, that is known as the kinetic energy. Now if the particle's motion is more, then the kinetic energy will be more, but if the motion is less, then the kinetic energy will be less. So this, it means the kinetic theory of matter is mainly deal with 4 points. First, about its composition. Second, it deal with the interparticle space, which is also known as intermolecular space. And third, it deal with the intermolecular attraction or interparticle attraction or intermolecular force. And fourth, it deal with the kinetic energy. So kinetic energy is all about composition, intermolecular space, intermolecular force of attraction, and kinetic energy, related to the kinetic energy of the particles. So we have discussed about the kinetic theory of matter. Now we will discuss about the different states of matter, that is solid, liquid and gaseous state of matter, their general characteristics, and about solid, liquid and gas state according to the kinetic theory of matter. The model of solid, liquid and gaseous state according to kinetic theory of matter. Now, for example, suppose you have a cube. You know that the dice of Ludo, dice of the Ludo, or suppose you are dealing with some other, your pencil box, a solid duster. Then what happens? They have, suppose I want to keep the duster in my box, then I have to remove some of the substance, then I can keep the box or the duster within the box. Otherwise not possible to keep the duster in the box. Okay. And if I want to keep the dice of the Ludo, for that also I require some space, but a small space if it is smaller in size. So space occupied, that is known as the volume. Okay. But solid occupy the space. In the same way, liquid, if I want to keep 1 liter of water or some amount of water in the glass, then it will also require some space. Or even if the gas I want to keep, then this also requires some space. And solid, what will happen? So mass is what? The quantity of matter contained in a body. Solid, that has mass, liquid also has mass, and gas has mass, because all are matter. If all are matter, then they must have space and they must have mass. Now since they have the space, they have the volume also. But the thing is that whether the volume is definite or the whether is volume is indefinite, not definite. Definite means fixed, and not definite means volume is not fixed. So what happens in case of the solids, when I am taking the dice of Ludo, then what will happen? Whether I will keep it in my pencil box, or I keep it in my bag, or I keep it somewhere else, what will happen? Its volume will not change. If its volume is 1 centimeter cube, it will remain 1 centimeter cube only. It's not like that. If I will keep it in the box, then automatically by magic it will become 2 centimeter cube. So it has a definite volume. Now, in case of the liquid, suppose I have a liquid in Coca-Cola bottle, 1 liter of the liquid. When I will pour it in the thumbs up bottle, then tell me that 1 liter will become 2 liter. No, 1 liter, if it is there, the cold drink is 1 liter in Coca-Cola bottle, then it will be 1 liter in another bottle, that is a thumbs up bottle also. So what happens? The volume is definite. But in case of a gas, what will happen? The volume is not definite. I will take, suppose, 1 liter or whatever the amount of gas in a balloon, and if I will prick the balloon, then what will happen? The gas will escape out from the balloon. The air, whatever is filled up in the balloon, that will escape out, and that will occupy the whole room. So what will happen? The volume of the gas is not definite. So regarding the volume of the solid definite, liquid definite, but in case of gas, the volume is not definite. Now think about the shape. The shape of the solid does not change from place to place or compressing. Whatever we do, the shape does not change. But in case of the liquid, what will happen? When I will pour that 1 liter of cold drink which was kept in Coca-Cola bottle into the thumbs up bottle, then it will take the shape of the thumbs up. And when I will pour it in my glass, then it will take the shape of the glass. It means the liquid do not have definite shape. And gas also do not have definite shape. Why? Because the balloon I filled up with the air, so it will take the shape of the balloon. Now what will happen if I will transfer it to another balloon, then it will take the shape of that balloon. So what will happen? The shape of gas and the liquids not definite, but the shape of the solid is definite. Next is related to the density. Density in case of solid, the particles, the density is much more in case of the solid. Always we see that solid are heavier. It means heavier means the density is more. But in case of liquid, it is little bit less denser, and gas, the density is least. Because gases are lightest. So what will happen? The density is least. Compressibility. Now what happens? Suppose a solid is there, I want to compress it. A stone, I want to compress it. Can I compress it? No, I can't. But if I want to compress the water, then slightly it is compressible. And in case of gas, if I will compress, suppose in a syringe or in a piston, the air is there, and when I will compress the piston, then what will happen? Piston of the syringe, then what will happen? The gas will be compressed easily. And free surface, in case of a solid, any number of free surface are there. Suppose I will take a book, then what will happen? It has so many free surface, upper one, lower one, 6 faces are there. If I can't turn the pages, but if I can turn the pages, then what will happen? So many faces are there, so many surfaces are there which are free. Liquid has only one upper surface which is free. If I will keep the water in the glass, then you can see that only the topmost layer is free, but the other side you have to bound it by some kind of surface, otherwise it will flow. So only the one surface is free. And gas has no free surface, not a single free surface. If I want to keep the air in the balloon, I have to tie it up totally, and no free, you can't touch any surface, so it has no free surface. Diffusion means intermixing of the substance, intermixing of substances. Now for example, solids are there, I want to mix rice with the wheat. What will happen? They will easily, they are visible that this is rice particle and these are, sorry, these are rice particles and these are wheat particles. So intermixing is not possible in case of solid, and intermixing of particle is known as diffusion. So diffusion is not possible in case of solid. But when I will think about the liquid, then what will happen? They are diffusible, slowly diffusible. But it depends on whether the liquids are, two liquids are miscible or immiscible. Suppose for example, when I will add alcohol to the water, then what will happen? They will mix with each other and you can't identify where is the alcohol particle and where is the water particle. So they are diffusible. But suppose I mix oil with the water, then what will happen? They won't mix with each other because they are immiscible liquid, and in case of immiscible liquid, the diffusion is not possible. So what happens? I can say the solids cannot diffuse, but in case of the liquid, the particles can diffuse. Next, in case for the gaseous substance. For the gaseous substance, the particles can diffuse easily. Now in air also, can I identify where is oxygen particle, where is the where is carbon dioxide? No, I can't. Why? Because intermixing of gaseous particle can easily takes place. Means they can diffuse easily. Sure. Now I will explain you all these characteristics of the matter on the basis of kinetic theory. All these characteristics of solid, liquid and gaseous state on the basis of kinetic theory. In case of solid, the particles are very close to each other. This is just like the passengers are there within a crowded bus during official hours. And in case of liquid, the particles are not so close to each other. Just like afternoon, in the bus there is not so rush. And this one is the gaseous state where the particles are too far. For example, during the night time, what happens? The passengers are very less in the bus. Now, for example, suppose the passengers, so many passengers are there in the bus during the office hours. So what happens? The space between the passengers will be less. So what will happen? They cannot move and they will just node at their own position. So in the same way, what happens in case of the solid? Just like the crowded bus, the particles are very close to each other. So the space between the particles very less. And if space is less, we know that the force of attraction is maximum. And force is maximum, space is less. That is why what will happen? The particles will move, node about their mean position. And that is why since the motion is less, just they are noding about their mean position, what will happen? Their kinetic energy is least. Kinetic energy is least, so they cannot move freely. So they have definite shape and definite volume. And the particles are very close to each other. So what will happen? The density of the solid is maximum. But in case of liquid, what happens? The particles are far apart. Particles are far apart, just like the passengers in the bus during afternoon hours. So what will happen? Since the rush is less, so what will happen? The passenger who is on the first seat easily can move to the second one because that is empty. Space is there. So what, in the same way, what happens here in case of the liquid, the particles, since the space is there, so what happens? The particles can move easily. Space is more. That is why what happens? The interparticle force, that intermolecular force is less. Force is less, but the space is more, so they can move continuously. They are in continuous motion, but they cannot go beyond a limit. So what happens? They have definite volume, but no definite shape, and their density is less than that the solid. Why? Because in case of the solid, the particles are very close to each other, so mass per unit volume is more than that of the liquid. Now in case of gaseous state, the particles are too far, just like very few passengers are there in the bus. So what happens? When very few passengers are there in the bus, then what happens? They can move easily from one place to another. Now here also, in the gaseous state, the particles are too far. So what happens? Intermolecular space between the particle, or interparticle space between the particle, maximum. That is why intermolecular force in between the particles minimum. That is why they can move randomly in any direction, and they have least kinetic energy. Sorry, they have maximum kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is maximum in case of liquid state. That is why they do not have definite shape and definite volume. And since the particles are very far apart, so their density is minimum. Next, we will discuss about the interconversion of matter. Interconversion of matter. Interconversion of matter means the matter will change from one state to another state. We know that there are three states of matter: solid, liquid, and gaseous state. When a substance changes from solid state to liquid state at a particular temperature or at a given temperature, then that one is known as the melting. Okay. And reverse, when a liquid changes into the solid state at a fixed temperature, then we call it freezing or solidification. Again, when liquid changes into the gaseous state at a fixed temperature, then that one is known as the boiling. And when gaseous substance changes from gaseous state to the liquid state, then that is known as the condensation. It means solid to liquid, that is the melting; liquid to solid, freezing; and liquid to gas, that is the boiling; and gas to liquid, that is known as the liquefaction or condensation. And every here, melting, boiling, freezing, or condensation, whatever is, all takes place at a particular temperature, at a given temperature. But when solid directly changes into the gaseous state without passing through the liquid state, we call it sublimation. And when a substance changes directly from gaseous state to the solid state, we call it deposition. Now, we can explain this change of state on the basis of kinetic theory. Actually, what happens when a substance changes from solid to liquid state, we call it free, we call it melting, and liquid to solid state, freezing. And that is possible by cooling the substance. And gaseous to liquid state, that is also possible by decreasing the temperature of the substance. So when we cool down the substance, it changes from liquid to solid state or gas to the liquid state. Actually, when we cool the substance, when we decrease the temperature of the substance, at that time what will happen? The temperature falls. When temperature falls, then what will happen? The potential energy of the substance released in the form of heat energy. It means the overall kinetic energy of the substance decreases. When kinetic energy decreases, we know that the motion of the particles will decrease. So when the motion of the particles will decrease, why the particles motion will decrease? Because when the temperature falls down, the intermolecular space decreases. Intermolecular space decreases, so intermolecular force increases and the particles slow down. And when particles slow down, then what will happen? The gas will changes into the liquid state, and a liquid substance will changes into the gas, solid state. Next is that, but when we heat the substance, at that time what will happen? We are supplying the heat energy. When we supply the heat energy, then solid changes into the liquid and liquid changes into the gaseous state. How it is possible? Actually, when we supply the heat energy, at that time what happens? The potential energy of the system or the substance increases due to the absorption of heat energy, and in turn kinetic energy increases, and when kinetic energy increases the motion of the particles increases, and when the motion of the particles increases the space between the particle increases, and when space increases then the force decreases. So due to the decrease of the force, what happens? The motion of the particles increases, and the substance changes from solid to liquid or liquid to the gaseous state. Sublimation, where what will happen? The solid directly changes into the gaseous state without passing through the liquid state. I think you are familiar with some of the sublimable substances. Iodine, which is violet in color, that is sublimable. Then ammonium chloride, camphor. Camphor, I think you know that when I will heat it, then what will happen? It directly changes from solid to the gaseous state. So these are what these are the sublimable substances, and the phenomenon, this process is known as sublimation. Here actually what happens, if I will think about the camphor, then what will happen? In case of the camphor, the particles, in between the particles, the interparticle force of attraction, that is very low, or intermolecular force is very low. So what happens when we heat it? It means we are supplying the heat energy. At that time, this intermolecular space, which is very low, is overcome by the heat energy. So what happens? The particles become free and they escape from the surface of the solid and directly changes into the gaseous state. Now the change of this conversion of a substance from solid to liquid, liquid to gaseous state, you think that only it is possible due to change of temperature. When I will change the temperature, then what will happen? If I will heat, then solid changes to the liquid, liquid changes into the gaseous state. But do you know that if I will change the pressure, due to the change of pressure, even I can change the state of the substance. Means by changing the pressure, I can change the substance from liquid state to solid state, or from gas state to liquid, or liquid to solid state. Actually, what happens when suppose a substance is in the gaseous state, and when I will apply the pressure, at that time what will happen? The particles will come closer, because when I will apply the pressure, then the volume decreases and the particles will come closer to each other. So when particles will come closer to each other, then what will happen? The intermolecular space between the particles decreases, they will come close to each other, so intermolecular force of attraction increases, and the gas substance changes from gaseous state to the liquid state. But when I will release the pressure, at that time what happens? Then the volume increases, then intermolecular space between the particles increases, and intermolecular force of attraction decreases. So the substance changes from liquid to gaseous state. The best example is LPG. Within our cylinders, do you know that the LPG which we use at home as fuel, so that one is in the liquefied state within the cylinder, because it is filled up within the cylinder under high pressure. But when I open the knob, at that time we release the pressure within the cylinder. So what happens? Whatever the LPG is there, that is coming out in the gaseous state, but actually that is in the liquid state within the cylinder. So this is the best example that by due to the change of pressure, what happens? The substance changes from liquid state to gaseous state. The same thing happens when I will apply the pressure on the liquid substance, or when I will increase the pressure, then what happens? The liquid substance changes from liquid state to the solid state. And when I will release the pressure, then the solid changes into the liquid state. So the thing is that by altering the temperature and even by altering the pressure, I can change the substance from one state to another state. Next, I will give you the little bit idea about the difference between the evaporation and boiling. What is the difference between evaporation and boiling? Boiling, it's okay that the substance changes from liquid state to the gaseous state at its boiling point. And what is evaporation? Evaporation, also the substance will change from liquid state to the gaseous state, but at temperature below its boiling point. For example, all of you know that the river water, sea water evaporates. When they evaporates, tell me, the temperature of the river water becomes 100 degrees centigrade, or the temperature of the sea water becomes 100 degrees, then they convert it into the gaseous state? No, much lower temperature. When the temperature of the surrounding is near about 30 to 40 degree, even at that time the river water or the sea water converted into the gaseous state. So here what happens, the substance is converted into the gaseous state below its boiling point, and due to that whatever the gaseous form is formed, actually that is known as the vapor, and this phenomenon is known as evaporation. But when the substance changes from solid to gaseous, sorry, liquid to the gaseous state at its boiling point, then this phenomenon is known as boiling, and whatever is formed, the gaseous substate, that is known as the gas. So water which is formed by the evaporation of river water or sea water, that is the water vapor. But when water, when it is heated to 100 degrees Celsius, when steam is formed, actually that is the gaseous state of water, and that is the gas, water in the form of gas. Now evaporation. You know that slowly and slowly the river water is converted into the water vapor. It means it is a slow process. But when I will keep the water on the burner and temperature becomes 100 degrees Celsius, then it will be converted into the gaseous state, and that is a very fast process. The next is that the evaporation, that is also only the surface phenomenon, means the particles of the water which is evaporated out, they are on the surface. But boiling is a bulk process, means it takes place throughout the liquid. Whenever the evaporation takes place, one more thing is that temperature of the surrounding decreases. Whenever we return, suppose after doing hard work or after doing exercise, when we sit below fan, you feel little bit cooler or comfortable. Why? Because the sweat want to evaporate and it take the heat from the surrounding, means from our body. But in case of boiling, boiling is possible, we have to supply the energy, and the temperature of the surrounding will not decrease until and unless we will not supply the energy, the heat energy required, the subs water will not boil. It means in at that time the temperature of the surrounding will not change, it will remain constant. And next, what are the factors that will affect the rate of evaporation? That is, it is the temperature of the liquid. More the temperature, faster will be the rate of evaporation. Like suppose if the atmospheric temperature, if the temperature is 30 degree today and next day the temperature is 40 degree, then the river water will be converted into the vapor state easily at 40 degrees Celsius compared to 30 degrees Celsius. In the same way, during summer, when I will spread the wet cloth, it will dry up quickly. Next, it depends on the area of the exposed surface. I have 1 liter of water, I will keep it in the glass or a bowl, and then I will keep it in a plate. In which case, the loss evaporation will be faster. Obviously, when I will keep it in the plate, it means it depends on the area of exposed surface. Now, next, nature of the liquid. I will take in one plate alcohol and another plate I will take the same amount of water. But what will happen? The alcohol will evaporate at the same temperature. The temperature is same. The alcohol will evaporate faster compared to the water. It means it depends on the nature of the liquid. Next, it depends on flow of air above the liquid. Whenever the air blow faster or the wind is there, then what will happen? The rate of evaporation will be more compared to the day when the day is not windy. Next, it depends on the presence of moisture or the humidity. More the humidity, less will be the rate of evaporation. That is why what happens during rainy season, or what happens, the humidity is more in the atmosphere, so the clothes will take time to dry up because the rate of evaporation is less. But during winter time, if humidity is less, so what will happen? The clothes dry up faster during winter. Next, I'll tell you about the why we have to determine the melting point or boiling point of the substance. We have to determine the boiling point or melting point of the substance to find out the purity of the substance. You know, impure substance, their boiling point and melting point is not fixed. If the substance is impure, for example, water, if I will add little bit salt to the water, then what happens? When I will add little bit salt to the water, then what happens? The boiling point increases. Means instead of 100 degree, it will boil at 110 degree or 120 degrees Celsius. And in the same way, if impurity is present, then melting point of the substance decreases. Or you can say freezing point decreases. Ice which will freeze at 0 degrees Celsius, that will freeze at lower temperature, maybe 1 or 2 degrees Celsius, it will freeze. So melting point and boiling point we have to determine, or it is used to determine the or to find out the purity of the substance. And now last we will discuss about the law of conservation of mass, which we will do it tomorrow, not today.